The beginning of this tale takes place in the little Ohio hamlet of Haverton, where in the late 1800s, something unexpected happened. It's a church, but it's not just any church. This church was pure evil, was nothing like what you would imagine a church to be. In a barren field, devoid of any vegetation, there stood a church. This church was well known and well liked in communities at the time. It was a secure haven where members would congregate for services every Sunday. In an instant, everything changed. One night, someone reported seeing two insane strangers pass through the town. These strangers entered the church and murdered the minister and his secretary. The woman he was with claimed that his girlfriend felt bad about what she did and took the knife to end her own life after the stranger had departed. People were in a panic when the bodies were discovered, and some even accused other residents of being responsible for the incident. The visitor disappeared as suddenly as he appeared. Some claimed the devil himself was the perpetrator, while others disputed this. They searched the town, homes, buildings, and the church, but they couldn't find him. It was as if he had vanished. This town has a dark and terrible past. Some claim it was cursed, while others claim it was just bad luck. The church was boarded up and shut after the killings. Nobody ever entered it again because it was no longer a sacred place. The town's situation deteriorated about 2 weeks following the murders. A local resident claimed to have witnessed a group of people holding lamps, long knives with strange symbols on them, and hooded capes one evening while they were strolling through the streets. The group then vanished into the church. Some claimed that this demonic group entered the church and performed spells, rituals, and even human sacrifices. The man said he heard snarling, hissing, and horrible sounds coming from the chapel when he was walking past. He also declared that he saw the devil himself there, ambling around as though he owned the place. Terrified by what he witnessed, he hurried back home and began to pray. Children in the community heard adult rumors about the haunted church. 4 young boys decided to break into the chapel to investigate. Once inside, they split up to explore. One child reported seeing a tall, curly-haired woman with her hair in a bun, wearing a long floral dress with a frilly collar. She was holding a woman and appeared to be about to cut her throat with a knife. She slammed the door, frightening the young boy half to death. Suddenly, he heard a strong, loud voice behind her say, "Get out," and he fled into hiding. The other boys were upstairs, where they had heard the preacher liked to hang out. They entered the preacher's living room and were immediately struck by how chilly it was. They could see their breath. They heard footsteps approaching. Panicking, they heard a raspy, disembodied voice say, "Help me." The boys freaked out and ran into another room, realizing it was where the murder had occurred. The room felt strange, making them queasy and dizzy. They started to see things. A large, malevolent shadow then emerged from the closet, slamming the door shut and locking it. They cried out in terror, "We're trapped in here. What are we going to do?" Trembling, shivering, and stammering, they huddled together. Meanwhile, the other boys were already making their way to the basement stairs, where it all began. This is the part of the tale where the devil himself and a plethora of demons enter via a portal to the other side, opened by the satanic cult. The boys pressed on, making their way down the steep steps until they reached the bottom. Overcome by anguish, misery, regret, and evil, it was too much for them to handle, and they grieved and cried. The basement was damp, cold, and full of hate that could be cut with a knife. Despite everything, they were able to move on. In that basement, they discovered the exact location where the ceremony was carried out by the satanic cult. They also discovered dried blood and bones, the charred mark left by a massive fire, and a pentagram that appeared brand new. The boys were unaware that the satanic sect was about to resurface. They were oblivious to what was going on around them as they investigated the remainder of the basement. They heard sounds emanating from the rear of the church, chanting followed by footsteps. Glancing up, they noticed a gang of men carrying lanterns and donning hooded capes. Another ritual was planned. The boys became agitated and searched for a hiding spot. They discovered a small door to the root cellar, dashed to it, and hid. They had a clear view of what the cult was up to, unaware of the danger waiting for them in the root cellar. A deep hiss was followed by a guttural growl. Leaping to their feet, they pointed their lantern in the direction of the sound. Red, glowing eyes turned toward them. They bolted from the cellar door and ran up the steps. The creature was close behind them. Running up the steps, they stumbled but quickly got up. They turned to face the rear once more. This enormous, red-eyed black mass was approaching from the steps. At last, the boys believed they had made it upstairs to the church's protection. When the three boys were reunited, they discovered they were encircled by ghosts and demons. They tried running upstairs, but it wasn't any better. They also saw the preacher, who slowly materialized in front of them and said, "Your friends are locked in that back room by a horrible demon creature. Beware." The boys who were still inside the locked room were relieved to be free, but also terrified. They hurried to join the others, and all ran out of the church, vowing never to enter it again.